You go to the secret room? Oh no, here he is.
I just had to get rid of the microphone because with the new attachment, the microphone is not correctly attached.
Okay.
Okay, we're live. Let me do my intro, please. Please, please, God, please. Can't a man just ask for one thing? Can't a man just ask for a whiskey sour
Because we're men.
and a
Yeah, for
cigar?
it's one thing. We ask for 12 different things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then,
Okay,
so
video
we
output
have to get
low.
out of stuff.
Shit. Okay, video output is low. That's great. Maybe I should
I
record
lost
this
everybody.
locally. Okay, so I'm going to record this locally as well, just in case. Alrighty. Quiet, please, folks. I need to have this clean for the podcast. Hello there, and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. Joe Yardley is not here because we're streaming live from Sansar, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, on the podcast, in an audio-only version, then you will hear a slightly edited version of this live stream. So, the title of the show today is So What About Sansar? And this is a series of podcasts in the Drax Files Radio with Joe Yardley series where I want to go to different worlds with my friends and just ask around. So, what about this world? What about Sansar? Naturally, we're in Sansar today, and we are in my basement studio, and I'm here with Leper, who appears in his avatar embodiment as what? What are you, Leper? What are you looking? Describe.
I people might refer to me as it's someone else, but I think I am a shadow demon. That's what I refer to myself.
Okay, and here we have the wonderful problem that is anticipated by me as a senior and seasoned radio producer. We're producing something for radio, and the audio is SHIT. Okay, so we might have some issues going in and out, so please bear with us. This is basically straight from the stream if you're listening to this on the podcast. Leopard was breaking up a little bit. I'll ask him again. And Shyla is here too. Shyla, hello? Okay.
Hello.
Oh, there she is. Her audio is
There I
crystal
am.
clear. Shyla, so we're gonna go to the welcome area. It's not called welcome area here. It's called the Sansar Social Hub, and it's fairly new. And we're gonna go over there, and we're gonna look around, and hopefully have some conversations with people who are new, or maybe who are not that new, and will tell us. So, what's the deal with Sansar? What about Sansar? And then next week we're
So
gonna do this
noob
in
or
high
noobesk?
fidelity. New Besk, yeah, there you go. Next week we're going to go to high fidelity, and then we're going to go to VR chat, and then if you're watching this or if you're watching this on the stream or listening to the podcast, and you are the proprietor or the community manager of a world that you feel is ignored, please ping me, and then we'll go to that world. I know there are other worlds out there. I know there's the Central Land, there's Somnium Space, there's all sorts of things. Uh, Leper, let's see if your audio is working better. Can you hear me, Leper?
Yes, yes, I can.
Now it's good. Now it's
Hello,
good.
world.
Hello. Leper says hi to the world, and he's a floating demon, and there seems to be some water flowing in his demon wings, and
Yes, because like I said, I refer to myself as a shadow demon. I'm a
oh,
shadow. People can't see me when they're talking to me after a while. They can't see me.
right.
And also that I can appear as many different forms. So it's good for good ideas when I want to be for different avatars.
Yeah.
So.
No, you totally with this, you're right. You totally blend into the wall. Like if you go back here, we're in the basement and the wall. Can you go back a little bit? You completely blend into the wall. See? Oh yeah, you're also a little bit translucent, and there's always something sort of floating in your skin, like your bloodstream, or what is that? That's constant flowing of things in your skin.
Oh, this is water constantly flowing through me.
Ah,
Yeah.
water.
This is made by Ravi, and like if you get to a, cause we once did with Naya, where if I get to a scene where there's where there's things swimming in the water and stuff, it looks like I have like bugs going around me,
Oh
looks
yeah.
like that. It's very Resident Evil style. Yeah.
Let me just say that this was made by Ravioli, who is a content creator here in Sansar. This who you mentioned, who needs to get a lot of credit for really cool avatars. Um, Hi Daisy. Daisy's also has appeared in the.
Hi, Drax.
This is Daisy Gator and Shiloh the Super Gecko are both here in the studio with me. Now I said earlier the welcome area because we're so sort of Second Life conditioned, but it's of course the social hub. Are you guys afraid to go to the social hub? Daisy, Shyla, are
No.
you afraid?
No.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
I am
no,
very
yes, no.
afraid.
Me too.
Especially those gray aliens. Gray aliens, we call them.
The what?
The
Gray
Greys.
aliens.
The Greys, yes.
Oh.
Gray people.
Especially
They're called
Oh, the
Greys.
gray. Oh,
aliens.
we should say for the
Yeah.
podcast
Gray.
folks. That's right, for the podcast listeners. If you're not watching this, what happens now when you come into Sansa, and again, like I said, we're going to go to High Fidelity, VRChat, and other worlds in the coming weeks and check out and kind of then get a nice overview. But in Sansa, what happens now with a new person that comes in, they're gray first. They're completely gray, and they have to go to the lookbook and then put their avatar together, but they come in gray. And are they sort of genderless as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
It's what the
genderless.
whole future's gonna be one day.
This is the future liberals want. They don't want colored rainbows. They want gray genderless people.
Exactly.
Okay,
You should get to decide what gender you want to be. You just go to the store, you buy your gender, and you go on with your life.
bada bing,
But
bada
what
boom.
about the height?
What if-
They can't do. They need to be shorter. They're too tall.
What they need to be?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They need to
See,
be shorter. They're
There you go.
heightist, you see.
The
They're too
heightist.
tall. They're too tall.
absolutely. This is like
They might
discrimination.
be, yes, it is. Yes.
This is true.
Yeah, the guys are told the girls.
Yeah,
It's
well, yeah,
kinda
but
weird.
they're also just one height. Hey, but don't you well, Shyla says, well, you got to go to the store and buy your gender. What if you come into this world as a gray person and you don't have a purse and you don't have your money? Yeah,
Well, there's lots of free
that's true. So
freebies out there.
let's
you
go
might
to
have to be a eunuch for a while, but
a unique eunuch that is
yeah.
a heightist, an ableist heightist.
Yeah.
Is a heightist a person that practices heightism?
I think it's a person who gets stoned a lot.
Who gets what?
Yeah.
Stoned a lot.
Stoned a lot.
A
Oh,
heightist.
oh, I see. I see. Okay, well, let's
right,
go
so-
there. I find this gray. I'm not sure what I think about people coming in gray because I feel they kind of look neat in a way, but I wonder if that is
I
strange
think they
for the
should come
person.
in looking like Ebby.
For the podcast listener who's just tuning in and who has never heard my podcast before, Ebba Alberg is the Linden Lab CEO, and I think Shyla is onto something. I think that is a great idea. They all should look like Ebbe, and there's an entire
With his
Ebbe
rainbow
army.
shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He wears a rainbow shirt. Well, without any further ado, my friends, Leper, Shyla, Daisy, let's venture out to the Sansar Social Hub, which currently has 11 people. Now, be mindful, folks, that we're trying to get this for the podcast, meaning the usual wonderful chaos that I certainly encourage at our other outings. I would try to hold back a little bit this time, including myself. This is note to self, so that the podcast listener who's not watching this can also appreciate it. So let's not try to talk over each other unless this is happening naturally at the social hub, as it probably does right now in any number of Second Life welcome areas. Hello, Rag. Rag has just joined us as well. If you're listening to the podcast, Rag is a
Hello.
wonderful content creator. Hello, Rag. Are you ready to go to the social hub with us?
I was already there. I didn't know where everybody was.
How is it over there? I mean, because I'm a little afraid as someone
not
who has
very
been
afraid.
through the Second Life welcome area, and Shyla is very afraid.
Don't be afraid. It's sunny and warm over there.
Okay. And
And Garth was there.
Garth is there?
Garth is there.
Garth was there, and yeah, Vermelin was there,
Oh,
and various people were there.
oh
didn't they,
wow.
Garth?
Okay, so for
Let's go.
let's go for the podcast listeners. Garth is also a Linden Lab employee, and a Bremlin Wolf should be known to every Second Lifer. Let's see who's there. 8 people.
All right.
Let's go. So we're teleporting, and you can hear this interstitial music that is between the teleports, and I'm a broken record on this if you heard the show before. This was all composed by Torley at Linden Lab, and I'm just a big fan of his music. So here we are. So I'm describing a little bit what I see for the podcast listeners. We're in a nice area with a nice tree. It's obviously fall, judging from the color of the leaves, and there are some benches here, and there's a few people.
You know, I checked out VR chat,
Oh.
which seems to be like the more popular
Let's
virtual
listen in,
reality
Shyla.
and social
Conversation.
simulator.
Yes. Oh, the conversation.
So I think, you know, that doesn't require a lot of graphics, but I mean, I would think that people that play Second Life, I think that requires somewhat of good graphics, right? Because you're loading a whole bunch of worlds, a lot of
Hey, Dragster.
a lot of different things. So
Hi.
Dragster.
I would.
Let me introduce you to Rainbow Boy. He's brand new. This is Dragster.
Hi, Rainbow
Do-
Boy.
Hello.
Full
Hi.
disclaimer: we're capturing the podcast, which comes on the audio podcast on Monday. We're streaming this live, and we're doing an hour where we talk to people at the Social Hub in Sansar. The name of the show is So What About Sansar? And this is wonderful. I'm stepping into this conversation. Rainbow
Yes.
Boy, thank you for. Oops, I have a lot of noise. I gotta mute.
Yeah, someone is like
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise.
So I'm recording this. Please, folks, if you can, be mindful. I don't want to disturb anybody, but I'm super curious not to disturb this conversation. Rainbow Boy, please keep going. You were talking about VR chat and Second Life and such. What do you think about
Yeah.
Sansa?
How do you mute someone? There's a loud like echo.
You have to mute it. You hover over the person, right,
Okay.
Garth?
Click them with the mouse.
Do you right click?
Well, I also don't want to be mean
Who's got their
either.
mic open?
It's Ivory.
But I don't think she knows. I
No.
hope she doesn't.
Ivory, you have to. Let's just toggle
Yeah.
to talk, maybe. We can all toggle. Yeah.
There we go. How do you toggle to talk? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, you just click and click and click.
Oh, you click it. Okay. Wow, great. We're so futuristic.
Well, Rainbow Boy,
okay.
look at how futuristic VR. Look at me. Look, I can.
I don't have a VR set. I haven't got one.
I think I don't use mine all 100% of the time at all.
I have an Oculus Go.
Touch his belly, Dragster.
That I just got. So that's my first introduction to virtual reality headsets. Is the Oculus Go. I didn't know the difference between the Rift yet, so I need to get that one, but I'm gonna order it. But I heard there's a new one coming out, so I'm kind of like I'm not sure if I want to order one yet and spend that much.
Rainbow Boy, can I
Um,
ask you if your first impression about Sansar? I mean, you just said you went to you visited VRChat, you're familiar with Second Life. What do you think so far of Sansar? Is this the first place you've been here? What are your
this is
first?
the first. Yeah, this is it. I made
Wow.
this avatar. I'm trying to express my unique creativity in the
Can you
avatar.
describe
I haven't
yourself?
spent. Okay.
You have slider shoes. You have slider shoes from Bio Breen. Look, I also have slider shoes.
Well, they're free, and I haven't put any money in this game yet. That's why I'm wearing all this stuff.
But they're really
They're good.
fashionable.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
very good.
great.
They're the only cool
Um,
people wear them.
oh, great. I'm glad to know there's some sort of social structure.
There
in
is.
here.
There's peer
Okay.
pressure, all everything, just like middle school.
That-
Go ahead.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, in real life, I'm a college student. I'm not going to say where or anything like that. I'm in my upper level education field. I'm still an undergrad though, but I'm like upper undergrad. Um, I'm an openly gay man in real life and in the game. I also like fashion and creativity. I like music.
Hmm.
I like politics. I like technology.
Oh my God, you're my new best friend. You should cut. We have daily events at 114 Harvest around all sorts of discussions, political, art, and
So
everything.
I'm a public administration major with a
Hmm.
minor in civic engagement. So like what I study in real life is dealing with different minority groups. So like LGBTQ
Wonderful.
plus,
Wow.
Latino cultures,
Oh yeah, that's
Black
very nice.
cultures. So I look at that in like demographics. So I also look at like different cities. So I mean different so like an urban development versus like a rural development. What are the social factors and personal development that goes into it? And
Hmm.
then we have to look at new things that we're studying, like virtual reality, socialization structures in these type of games. And so there's a lot of new things that I like to look at when I go to video games and seeing like the different groups. So like I'm imagining people on here are much older, and then VR chat is filled with a lot of younger uh, children, and then you can look at
Ah,
things like the gaming
that's an
culture.
interesting. Hold on. I gotta ask you. This is an interesting perception. What makes you come to this conclusion? I mean, I was gonna say
Oh,
I came to
what?
the same conclusion, but it took me longer.
Well, we study this in school. If you like major in like civic with like a minor in civic engagement, you look in like the humanities. I take a lot of like humanities courses along with my public administration major. So that's why I really recommend like minoring in something that's like different than just going through like if anyone's planning on still going to school here, y'all are probably done. But I don't know. I'm not gonna make any assumptions. But it's
You're
a really
making a
cool.
lot of assumptions. You're saying we are older,
I
and
know.
and
I'm
in
gonna
VR
I don't
start
chat.
know.
back when they give the senior discounts.
Yeah. um.
But hold on. Let me just jump in here real quick. I mean, I said I came to the same conclusion.
Uh-huh.
I want to qualify that statement a little bit. I came to the conclusion when I visited VRChat just like twice or three times, that there
Mhm.
happened to be where we were a lot of very sort of immature people who just enjoyed basically, memeing and trolling and all that kind of stuff. And but I have to say here in Sansa, there seems to be a different vibe.
Well, I think
I'm
it's
not
because
sure it
it's
has to do with
new,
age.
right?
I'm not.
I think it's because it's new. I think if this became a super, let's say tomorrow we have over 1 million people online, not even that, that'd be terrible for a server. Like what? Even like 500 people in the whole game,
Right.
I think you would start getting trolls.
Hmm.
You would start luring in griefers. And
Hmm.
so,
Well,
The
we
Oh no,
make
we
a
have.
very we have griefers, and we had a troll in here earlier, and as soon as I came in, we generally. We, we don't allow people to be abusive or intolerant or
Yeah, I
racism or
I
not inclusive.
I have to say,
So
yeah.
if that can happen, and if it ever does, please reach out to us immediately at help@sansar.com.
I do
Uh,
feel, and again, this is not a judgment on VRChat because I do want to give them opportunity. I want to go there in a couple of weeks and maybe have the guys on the podcast as well. But I do feel that Linden Lab has taken a very proactive approach also with the tools that you have available for blocking and muting. And undoubtedly, Linden Lab has a lot of experience with with running a fairly big virtual world. that had their growing pains, and the guys from VR Chat, I have the greatest respect for them, but maybe they were overrun by, like you were saying, Rainbow Boy, probably overrun by their own success, and were maybe not prepared to handle it quickly. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, especially like Second Life. There are so many. There's like it's like literally I think the home of all trolls. Like that's where they live.
I disagree. But since I'm streaming live, I'm not gonna go into the feature film that Shyla stars in and Daisy, and that we're exhibiting at 20 festivals this year and to great success. And I think it depends where you go. That's why I'm careful with judging VR Chat.
Okay, let me restate that. Maybe Second Life is a very animated place where trolls dwell. Does that make sense?
I think what you said earlier is very true. I mean, anything that has larger populations that can be trolled is susceptible for the trolls to go in the culture that we live in, where this is sort of, unfortunately, a pastime for a lot of people. And so, yeah.
If I might,
Shyla.
I would just say that one of the things I like about virtual worlds is they do kind of mirror the real world, and there are trolls in the real world. You have your own trolls in the real world, and so I think it's just a matter of how you deal with it. But I don't find
nothing new to humanity.
I don't find Second Life has an exceptional number of trolls, to be really honest with you.
And trolling is just harassment, and being. I mean, that's what it is. In the real world, it would just be harassment, and the virtual reality, it's trolling.
Right, and the beautiful thing in virtual reality is if it gets too much, you just block them or whatever, and you go on with your experience. You can't do that in the real world.
Yeah, so that's something to look at, right? You see, like, the level of language and how far people will go online with some of their trolling, and then you look at reality and you look at all the different types of prejudice and discrimination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And you can see, like, from there, how does that evolve into this culture? This is called the gaming culture in, like, humanities and sociology.
Yeah. Although this is not a game, this is a virtual world. Ooh, this is my trigger. No, I'm triggered. Help me.
I'm just saying,
joking.
like, when like in college, that's what they call it, is gaming culture.
They should invite Professor Tom Burstow from UC Irvine, and he'll give you a lecture that lasts 3 hours why a virtual world is not a game.
No. I understand. I get what you're saying, but actually, I think for right now, on the level that colleges are looking into virtual worlds.
No, that makes sense. I completely understand. It totally makes sense to have it under the same rubric. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I totally, from someone who plays in a lot of like virtual realities, and I have created some characters like personas and things like that in Second Life. I can totally see how this is someone's like reality in a way. It's something different or something more realistic to them.
And we often have meetups like this with people from all over the world, France, Germany. I mean, right now we have people from France and Germany and Romania.
We have people from France?
Italy.
Oh, no.
And did you notice Silas?
Where's France?
Oh, Silas is here. God, France? I gotta go.
Where's France?
No, Silas is here. I should describe real quick for the podcast listeners. We're actually surrounded by real colorful avatars. So if you're listening to this on the podcast and you don't see it, Leper is his hovering demon in the back there. We got Kara Whiteberry with a wonderful headscarf, and we got, of course, Laban Kor, who is an astronaut. We got John Beich from Romania, and Bluebell is a wonderful hovering cat. And in the back there is some. So I don't want to dominate the conversation, but then again, I am doing it, and I will keep doing it since I'm recording the podcast.
You should introduce Silas to Rainbow Boy because he was talking about his avatar design. And Silas designs avatars. So
right. Oh, here's actually.
I was just going to remind. Yeah, I was just going to remind Drax of his New Year resolution.
What is my New Year's resolution, Shyla? I forgot.
Not to talk so much.
Well, but this is also the podcast recording. So
that was last year.
But listen,
that was last year.
but this is for the radio. If we're at a welcome area where nobody talks, then somebody's got to talk. Or the radio, people in the car, they're listening to their podcast, or they're doing the dishes, listening to their podcast, and then there's silence, and then they're gonna go to Mark Maron or some other stupid show.
If Dragster didn't talk, he would be dead.
Is there different shows on here? Is there like a...
And Dragster is always entertaining.
Yes, and people actually don't pay for it. But you could. See, you could actually pay me, Rainbow Boy. But no, all kidding aside, if anybody wants to chime in about Sansar, I'm just curious to know what people think of Sansar so far, especially the new people. And Rainbow Boy, we'll talk more. It's awesome to meet you. I mean, I'm super psyched to have someone like you here who is interested in public policy and all these things and how they interconnect with gaming culture. That's awesome. That's just...
Yes, you have to save us. Save us.
Yes, young people
from Dragster.
We're sitting here in our senior citizen homes, Garth, and we don't know what's going on.
Do I just add you? I'm gonna click add Garth as a friend.
Okay. And so, if just ladies and gentlemen, if you ever get removed from my friends list, it's just because if they do an avatar update, I may have to clear out that list for certain avatar updates. So
yeah,
okay, it's
so I would never unfriend anybody. Sometimes I have to.
I'm going to befriend Kyra Whiteberry and let's see here, boom.
Carl Sco
and Silver Eagle is here, and
Hello.
Carl. Hello, Carl.
Hello.
Where are you from? Where are you coming from?
I'm from Denmark.
Denmark. Wow, we have a wonderful friend from Denmark, Mayeki. And is this your first time in Sansar?
No, it's my first week off.
And we met. I met with Carl over at Harvest. Drax, and you weren't there. And he is very knowledgeable. He knows about a lot of Danish history and wonderful cultural things.
Then you
Carl
can stay.
has been at a couple of open mics as well.
Do they make good pastries over there?
Yes, we make excellent, especially me.
I think you sound like you're eating one right now, actually.
Yeah, I'm eating.
What a coincidence.
Are you a pastry chef?
No, but I like to bake. That's fun.
I have to bring up the chat here because some people, if people are not comfortable with the... Whoa, Silas, that's a good one. I wonder if people want to chime in to this conversation about Sansar or about their what they think about it. They can also do in text, and I'm just going to read it here. Because Ivory Rose says, a slim line away from Ready Player One. Your avatar is awesome, Silas. I want to put this up here for discussion. People bring up Ready Player One as a metaphor for the metaverse. I mean, naturally, it used to be Snow Crash, now it's Ready Player One. But I just want to throw this out there and get your feedback, because what is depicted in Ready Player One is not necessarily something that is that we... I mean, the question is, do we really want that world? I know when people say Sansar or virtual worlds are like Ready Player One, what they mean is, wow, this is a world that is malleable, where I can build my own worlds, where it's all interconnected, and I have my avatar embodiment and such. But I would stipulate not only the dystopian reality in Ready Player One, but also the fact that the Oasis is kind of owned by one corporate monopoly. So I'm just going to throw this out in the discussion forum here.
Linden Lab.
Linden Lab is the IO, yeah. So Rainbow Boy is itching. He wants to answer. Go ahead, Rainbow Boy.
It depends on what you're looking at. You're looking at the movie or the book.
I'm only. Oh, you don't know me. I only look at books. I don't watch movies. And people can.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
See, Rainbow Boy is my new best friend. Everybody leave. I would have my alone book time with Rainbow Boy right now.
I think you should have more than one friend.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm getting away too with my mic. I mean, I think virtual reality could be a really cool place, like what Garth said. Like with socializing with different cultures and different people. But I think at what point do you lose the cultures from around the world, and you only have the culture of virtual reality? A couple of 100 years from now. Well, I'm not sure how much real world cultural factors play with the creation of clothing here and different settings, or what is it when you look at people that design? What are these places called? Are they called
experiences?
Are they called? Experiences. So when people create experiences, what is inspiring them to create their experience? Are they using real world environments to inspire them? Are they just using what they can think in their head? And then what does that say about culture? What does that say about looking at a Latino experience, or a black experience, or
you're raising
are you going to see some of those? Are you going to bring some of those cultural factors in?
We have an homage to Blade Runner in 2077. That's by which is it's based on a book, Draxter, the book. Do you remember? Do androids dream of electric sheep
of Philip K. Dick? But I think, but
the base for all AI.
I need to respond to Rainbow Boy, because you're raising a really interesting point, and I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. Are you concerned, because I think I share that concern, about authenticity of culture when it gets transferred from the physical world into the virtual world, that everything just becomes sort of a mishmash of sort of
what is that? Oh, that's a person.
Now we get the welcome area flavor.
That's not pleasant. That was terrifying.
Hi, welcome to Sansar. We're having a podcast.
But do you did you hear me, Rainbow Boy?
Having a podcast.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Sounds like Barack Obama. No lie. I forgot what you're asking.
Okay, my question was what you were saying about the concern. What is Latino culture? What is Black culture? I think what you were saying, and that's what was getting at, if I understood you correctly. Are you concerned that when we build replicas or versions of the physical world, of a culture or of maybe a place, that we lose authenticity and we add some other things that makes it less authentic?
No, I don't think. I think it could be that way. What I'm saying is if we had different, or well, maybe I guess in the future.
I remember
because the original question was if we became that Ready Player One type environment, where most people are playing in virtual reality,
where we neglect the physical space, basically.
Yeah, and then I think then you'll lose a lot of humanistic cultural values and cultures that I think are vital to humanity, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you also need creativity. You need, I feel like sometimes this place is an escape for people that can express themselves in real life based on the country that they live in or the home environments, right? And it's funny, we're looking at in class at something called the family unit. So you have if you come from a conservative background, there's a lot more judgment, or from those that have an upbringing that's more liberal or more open, might affect how you develop your personality skills, your reality, your perception. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that I think go into it, and I don't know how virtual reality is going to play a difference in the humanity of that, right? So if you're from a conservative background and if you're a child in a conservative family unit, and then you get on virtual reality where you have a whole bunch of who knows what running around, you know what I mean?
Well, that's why conservatives are so. I'm painting with a very broad brush. That's why conservative parents are sometimes scared if their kids go to university, and then they're all of a sudden exposed to different ideas.
When you have a whole virtual reality here, so I think it's a good thing, and at the same time, it can be bad. What if you also can attract people that do illicit activity online? So.
They sell you the weed, like John from Romania. I'm standing in front of John from Romania, who is an artist. John, what do you say to all this? I mean, do you feel that virtual worlds are a danger that can destroy culture because we're all just escapists and we're going in there and we forget to engage with the physical world? Or can it
No,
be?
man. Globalization was always been a good thing, you know.
Can I put in 2 cents on this?
2 cents, Disney Hunters. I'm standing in front of Disney Hunters. Hold on, because this is the podcast, so I need to describe. You have really awesome sunglasses here and a dress that is like silvery
like
and
a disco ball.
A disco ball.
Like a disco ball, yeah.
And your name is Disney Huntress, and of course, you what you are pushing forward here, your agenda here is the Disneyfication of Sansar. Am I right?
I wish. No copyright infringement intended. No, but in terms of culture, I think it's kind of interesting because I've been doing other virtual worlds for a long time, and they create their own culture. I think a lot of us get to bring in the best aspects of our own personal cultures, though, and we learn a lot about other cultures, which is great. I learned tons about other cultures. I don't think people really lose them. I think that they find the best aspects of them and get to really share them and express them.
That's really well said. I'm going to play quickly devil's advocate. There is a blog out there that's called New World Tropes. I'm sorry, New World Notes. I got the name wrong. But Wagner, who writes this blog, always he is a broken record on saying, and there is data that most people in Second Life, for example, never leave their sim. So I completely agree with you, Disney. And the potential here is also to interact with people from other, or Rainbow Boy was saying the same thing. But I think there is some statistic in Second Life that most people just sort of hang out in their own sim. They don't take advantage of going outside. I don't know how true that is.
They leave their sim
on
Tuesdays.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on Tuesdays they leave their sim because of the restarts.
There is no.
Yes. Every fortnight.
I think it would be vital if virtual reality was dominated. I guess most of human time, and and became the main source of reality, I guess, or what people majority like to do with their reality. I think you would need like the environment in Ready Player One. I think you would need to have experiences or settings, I don't know, whatever you would call it, that I think still have, and you can look at things like education, right? If virtual reality really does evolve into a very popular demand, like what some of us are speculating it's going to be maybe hundreds of years from now, are we going to have education online? And it might be an even better source for it, because if you go into a classroom right now, like in America, how much hands-on experiences are you getting if you're going to study a different culture, if you're going to study science and chemistry? Imagine being able to see an animation in front of you in virtual reality would be, I think, a lot more effective. So I think if it does become a vast popularity, virtual reality, then I think there would have to be experiences, and if y'all know what I mean by experiences, like different little settings that also, like would be mimic a museum or something that has a server that's just dedicated to a culture, right? So like a Black History server.
Yes, there's actually the Black History Museum.
Or like the Star Trek experiences that we have dedicated.
Yeah, like entertainment history. That's really important. Screw world history. Screw culture. There you go. Disneyfication. I knew it. This is your hidden agenda, Disney Hunters. You don't care about Black and Latino culture. All you want to know is want to have the Star Trek museum.
Hey, Star Trek was important to Black culture too.
Drax.
Yeah.
Drax.
One at a time.
I think about what you asked me. What I think about this. I don't know how to call it. This. Globalization of travel in time, because internet is the travel in time, because it's make possible two people from different countries to meet in the same time, and I think this is a very good point of view for everyone who want to express yourself. This is a very good place to do and be whatever you want to be. And
I don't disagree. Yeah, I don't. I just want to jump in real quick. I don't disagree with any of that. Maybe I've been, inshallah, I'll throw it to you next. But maybe I've been too long in virtual worlds that I'm not not jaded or anything, but for example, with education, actually, I have a piece coming out about education virtual worlds that's been done in Second Life successfully for many, many years. What you're suggesting, Rainbow Boy, is great. Have an entire experience dedicated to in-depth learning about a culture and such. These possibilities exist. What my fear is that not a lot of people take advantage of the possibility to reach out to other cultures, and that's not a function of the availability of that feature. It's really a function of how
people are.
Exactly, how you're raised, and you see what I'm saying. So you can put this in front of someone, and then someone said, "Nah, I much rather, I don't know, I stay within my silo." So this is sort of my fear as we look into the world. In the physical world, we have enormous opportunity to reach out and learn about other cultures, but there seems to be these two strands going on in the world, and they're fairly extreme. One part of the world wants to kind of just totally be within their tribe, and the other part of the world wants to reach out and learn. And I don't know if virtual worlds necessarily are the panacea to change that. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
I've talked a lot. I'll keep them out.
Okay. I just want to say this, that, in other virtual worlds I've been in, there have been groups of people who have come together based on their real world culture.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they come together and they form these groups of either support or activity or whatever it is they do. They might be skiers, they might be veterans, they might be of an ethnic or religious background, but they form these groups and come together within the virtual world. So I don't worry too much. Like I said, I think the real world is very much reflected in virtual worlds. I think you can make I went to the Black History Museum in Second Life. It's beautiful. You can make the museum. You just can't make people go to the museum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we have a disconnect. Somewhere in all our upbringing, we miss the lesson that culture is interesting.
That's exactly my point, Shala. Thank you. This is what I mean. It's also, it has to do with
media. We've got to learn from the cows.
There's a blue guy with podcast listeners. You don't see this, but here on the bench is a blue shiny metal guy sitting with a big hole in his upper body. He has no heart. He's like the scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz, with the no, Silas.
Maybe he's trying to say something that he's heartless.
Yeah. We've got to learn from the cows.
I don't want to point this out, Drax, but the Scarecrow was missing a brain.
Oh,
it
right.
was the Tin Man.
The Tin Man. I just read it last week. Yeah. Wait,
and
Silas.
Here we have this one lonely cow.
Silas, you're suggesting to learn from the cows, but what are the cows doing right?
I like her.
They
just
try to
gathering.
Help you. Well, I mean,
gathering together always.
They're drinking, reading newspapers when we do see.
They don't scatter.
We watch really bad reality TV while they are studying Nietzsche and Sartre and Immanuel Kant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Was it Geir Larsen who made the comics?
That's true. That's it. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
I want to go to Denmark. I really do. I want to travel the world. I'm just a little,
You just want to try
I read that if you do a Danish-sponsored TOEFL certification, that you'll get a guaranteed teaching position for English teaching in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was looking at that at one point.
That is pretty cool.
Apparently in Denmark,
there's companies.
Is there a shortage of teachers?
No. In normal education for school children and universities, it's hard. But for private companies, for example, looking for a teacher learning their employees better English.
I wanted to, before I forget, Ivory Rose made a very important comment about cows. She says they recycle their food too. So I think
yes.
we really need to look at the cows in order to improve human relations.
Improve our moods.
Well, I think we could improve our museums as well.
Hi, Darth Pari. Here, I'm looking at a gray person.
If education will demand a very high accuracy and academic persons who make them.
Hi, Darth Pari. I'm standing in front of a gray person. We were talking about gray people earlier. Hi, are you brand new?
I forgot his name. Draxter?
You can also type if you like.
You said that there's a lack of interest.
Oops, people are talking.
When it comes to exploring different cultures and going to the museums. That's where I think if referring, I don't know if you're referring to real life or virtual reality, but I think the main conversation was virtual reality. My thing was that's why.
What I'm saying is that the availability.
No, I think it's real life and
right. No. Let me clarify. Let me clarify my point. My point is that virtual worlds as a technology platform, generally speaking, has amazing opportunities. I've been in Second Life for over 10 years, documenting Second Life with 200 movies. I lost count. But my point is that with this availability of this technology, I feel that it's not being taken advantage of just as much as the availability of the entire world knowledge on your freaking phone that you have in your pocket. What do people do?
And that's where I say.
And why do they do that? But the problem is that it starts very early. Like Shyla was saying, we need to start very early with nourishing kids that acquiring knowledge and is something worthwhile.
Here's the thing. And this is where I have 2 points. It's one, you have to look at 2 factors. There's parental family unit development, and then there's education systems. And so this is where both of those issues can get resolved.
Yes.
So you can look at parental family unit development. Do you want to provide an education for your kids outside of education? That's fine. That's a really good tactic to teach your kids about different cultures, different sciences, different, and the whole, you can do a whole school if you want. But also I think the major responsibility is the education system. And that's what's going to provide children and adolescents and eventually adults that are
You're
going
the
into
policy guy. You're studying
upper level education.
Yes.
That will educate them on going to places like museums and studying different cultures and sciences and the humanities. So that it just depends on how strong of an education system. And I live in America, so I can tell you our education system is probably one of the worst in the world in a first world country. So you don't have a lot of children really. Our education system doesn't expose us to all these different disciplines at a very young age. You look at a place like Japan or even a lot of European countries, they know about 5 or 6 different languages by the time they leave grade school.
But wait a minute.
Different cultural experience.
Okay, now Rainbow is putting me on thin ice here, because now I gotta say, but wait a minute, Rainbow Boy, for $35,000, I can send my kid to a wonderful school where I have 3 Chinese dialects and cooking classes.
But can every single family afford a $35,000 education?
Well, then they need to work a little harder, Rainbow Boy.
Well,
why don't they have that money?
Drax. You just exposed a really bad little issue.
I was joking.
I'm joking, Rainbow. You don't know me.
He could be a really good devil's advocate. You're right.
I know. I'm trying to troll. See, the problem is when you
troll. You can't.
No, I got it. Oh yeah, I'll dial it back.
But can I say?
No. But you know what? You bring up a good point.
Right? Because that's the argument. See, the argument.
Yeah, that is the argument. You know what? And you can see a lot of families that come from upper class and privilege that can't afford that, and take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. But and you have the majority. You have the majority of most countries that are middle class or in poverty. So
yep, absolutely. There was a guy. Can I say something?
Educational resources.
Can I say something?
I want to say something.
I'm going to say we got the podcast. Now we're cooking.
So here's
podcast
the deal.
Cooking. Let me sit down.
Here in Chicago, they give away free passes to many of the museums.
Hello, Dave.
And the museums are busier on that day. So I think there's also a role that municipalities can play.
Yes, Shyla.
In increasing. It's not just family. It's not just school. I mean, we as a society as a whole should be doing this, and every arm of society should be reaching out in this way.
But Shyla, you're talking. You're talking about also public policy. We're in complete agreement here. This needs to be strengthened also with proper public funding. In my mind, that these institutions are free to give out. For example, in Germany, where I am right now, there's a lot of similar problems in the U.S. I just actually wanted to. I know a lot of my American friends say, "Oh, the European countries are so much more advanced in education." There is nuance. We can talk about this for 2 days, but I just want to say one thing that is really great in Germany is also that the museums do have they're publicly funded, many of them, and they have free open days. I believe on Sunday or Mondays even. So there is something that you can take advantage of. On the other hand, the private forces and the forces of consumerism are so strong that I was actually quite shocked to see that when I grew up in Germany, we had these youth centers that were really cool. They had like musical instruments, and they had like really cool sort of social worker staff that were just like a few years older, and they really knew how to kind of deal with kids. So if kids had problems, they could go there. This was all publicly funded stuff, right? And today I see all these places where where they were formative in my youth. They still have some money, but they're cutting it down, and most kids do hang out at the mall, where the pressure to buy and sort of play in that realm is very high. And God, this podcast was about Sansar, and now it's all about public policy. It's Rainbow's fault.
Education,
Boy, I think there's a lot of issues.
But I think this Draxler really demonstrates the power of Sansar, that something like this could so spontaneously happen.
Yes, absolutely, Garth. Yes, and again, we don't want to this way. I don't want to bang on other worlds. This is not a competition, but I have to say that in Sansar, I have run across people who engage in really cool conversations of all stripes. And I mean, we've been trolled once. I told that story. We were in Harvest, and a scantily clad woman came running in. Her avatar name was Mom, and she ran in. She was half naked. She said, "Did somebody order a stripper?" And I said, "Mom, no, we didn't." And then I did say, "Well, maybe you want to go to VRChat for that kind of business." And she said, "I just come from VRChat." Anyways, that killed the room again.
I'm
sorry.
I'm going to go blow my nose because I have a cold, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Awesome.
And we're going to tape for 10 more minutes here on the podcast. And who wants to say something? Oh, Carl.
It was regarding the technology before.
Yes.
One thing we should remember is the high prices of equipment.
Oh, this is so. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Yep. That limits the access. And that's the big limit to the access and inclusion right now. Yeah.
And this is in the developed world where many people have an income where they can afford a high-end computer and so on. But think of the rest of the world, third world, they have to share one computer for like 50 kids or something like that.
Well, I can tell you that even in Germany and in the US, having a fast internet connection is with the wealth disparity that we have right now is also not a foregone conclusion. It's that there's a huge barrier of entry because of the price. Yeah.
And this thing, I think those things are important for creators here now, being artists, experience builders, programmers, and so on. We have to remember we are in the high end, and what we define and build here will define what it will become in a few years or 10 years.
Yeah.
So have this in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that bugs me literally every day, Carl, because I want to. This needs to be a very democratic environment with access. This needs This can only really transform society if it levels the playing field for people of different socioeconomic backgrounds. Right now, it's an elitist playground a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to make it open. If you understand what I mean.
Yes. Yep.
How we define things, we have to make it open. As programs, we have to make it open. I'm a programmer. We have to make it open, so if there come new ideas, new things, it can be implemented rather easy.
Yeah. Well, there's.
I'm really sorry, guys, but I need to run. It was lovely to see you, Draxor, and I hope see you again soon.
Yeah.
And see you tomorrow. Okay. Take care, everyone.
Okay. John. Everybody remember John's exhibition tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, what time is that?
John has an exhibition?
Yes, it's on the events calendar.
Okay.
Oh, I hope it doesn't interfere with Atlas hopping, because tomorrow is... I shouldn't say tomorrow because the podcast is coming out Monday.
Then you Atlas hop to the exhibition.
I added Drax. Okay, so I'm going to add Atlas to my calendar. Right?
Atlas hopping is huge. It's the best. Okay. I think John's... exhibition might be before that, and then afterwards is for the podcast listeners, this is all in the past.
You have a book club. Look at you. I'm gonna go to your book
club. I look at me all the time, dude. I wake up, I look at myself in the mirror for 2 hours, then I log into Sansar, then I look at my avatar.
That totally wasn't a figure of speech, but you can just
I'm not a native speaker, so I really don't understand what you're talking about half
the book club. I really have to recommend.
Let's do
Yeah, Daisy is also very instrumental in the book club. We're the two. You know what, Daisy, Garth. Well, I shouldn't say that, and people feel offended. Which is like Daisy and I and Garth are the only people who read in Sansar. And then Charles says, "Are you kidding me?" And yeah.
I read a lot. I like books.
Yeah, books are great.
Oh, you're noting.
What?
I like to.
What?
I love to read.
Reads a lot too,
I love to read. Yes.
Okay, Carl, you're also. I'm just trying to.
Look at
hone my skills as a troll.
Are you? You know what?
I get it. Yes.
So Draxor, you admit that you were a troll at one point? You have some trolling skills?
No. I'm joking.
No.
I actually on the podcast I interviewed a troll once, a woman. I mean, I guess she's young, judging for she never disclosed her age. She was trolling us in Second Life. We were getting together for like live discussions, and then she came in. And she streamed this live, and she came in and said, "It's Saturday evening, and you guys are in a virtual world. You guys are old." And I go like, "Okay, yeah."
I think when it comes to,
but you are young. What are you doing here? You know, what is your problem? And so I sat her down, and I was just real quick. I sat down with her for an hour for the podcast, and I was just, I admit I turned into sort of a dad halfway through. I said like, what are you doing with your life? You live in this wonderful world. You could learn Blender or something online, and you go in. You have a YouTube channel. You go in and you harass people. That is so exactly. That's so lame. If I would be your age, I would be like, this is so cool. I can learn everything from YouTube videos and whatnot. And she was like, "Oh, Draxter, you're boring me." And the funniest thing was that this podcast and the video has like 100 comments or so from her fans, where they all basically say, "Oh, she got you, Drax. You lost your cool, dude." And I go, "Oh my God, this is so sad. Is this what it's all about? I mean, come on, right?"
Consider the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor spin, but Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these.
Are you
what did you just?
Yeah, wow.
Whoa, God!
I literally just typed to one of my friends, there's some very intelligent people in Sansar, you should come by, and then that comes out. I'm like, yeah.
Garth just eats books in the morning and then he can regurgitate them like a cow.
Look at that. I think if they had like a snapping feature, we call Snap.
Oh, yeah.
We can just all go, snap.
Snap.
But they always been here, the trolls
I think
computers. The only thing how to handle is to ignore them.
Yeah,
they are fueled by your reactions.
But look,
I think the cognitive process behind a troll is there's a. I really think from what I've looked at into it is there's a endorphin release when you ridicule people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you get a sense of pleasure in the reaction of people.
Absolutely.
And it's almost it's almost comedic for them. So it's it's kind of like a thought process.
I think what you're expressing it really becomes a metabolic process.
No, this is a chemical process, and there's
a
book called The Hacking of the American Mind by Dr. Robert Lustig, who is a pediatrician. He wrote a book about sugar and how sugar works in the body. This is his last book. Exactly. And the book, The Hacking of the American Mind, is primarily about social networks. And it's fascinating because it plays into that too. The outrage machine that is facilitated. I'm not blaming Facebook necessarily for that, but Facebook is profiting from the fact that from content that is derisive, and they have them and other social networks, I feel, have a responsibility to owning up to this, because it is a human. We are not completely in control. Nobody really is, unless they are a monk. When you stab a monk like this for 2 hours, he might say like, well, okay, fine.
Don't stab me, no.
Yeah, but I'm not saying stabbing. I'm saying poking.
I'm kidding with you. There's a humanity factor here, I think, that we forget, right?
Yeah.
There's this is no matter if you're in virtual reality or reality, there's a humanity factor, and even in real life, people forget that, I think. That you're still dealing with people's emotions.
That is being described as the internet disinhibition effect, and I don't know who coined that, but look it up.
What is it called?
Internet disinhibition effect.
I need to write that down.
This was studied by the Pew Research Center, I think. You can look it up. There's an in-depth study that suggests that, exactly like you're saying, we forget that because the person is not physically in front of us, that we are less inhibited to act badly.
Emotions.
Right? And then, of course, the proponents like Philip Rosedale, creator of Second Life, I think has a great point, as have others have made this point, that with the proliferation of virtual worlds and immersive virtual worlds, this may actually be getting better, because, I'm standing in front of you right now, and I'm not just... Exactly. And no, but I'm also, I see you as a human being rather than, just texting to you, hey, you're an a-hole.
Yes.
You're an old a-hole.
That doesn't prevent me from saying awful things to you, Draxter.
Well, Silas is not, okay, Silas is an outlier. You didn't take part in that study, Silas. You're going to ruin the whole study.
Why don't we have a TAGA?
What's that?
What is that?
Trolls and Griefers Anonymous. Why don't we have that kind of a group? Why don't we have compassion? Look at it as the disease it is.
Yes, I agree with you, because I disagree with the thing. With ignoring, I just feel there are certain people that, especially young people, they're being corrupted by, when we take broader and talk about a real world, they're looking for ways to spend their energy. I think this energy has to be harnessed by opportunity to be creative, and I think some people can be rescued, is I guess my point. Even rescued from the troll career is what I'm saying.
From the troll
look, if you're a teenager, right? You're bored. You're sitting there. Oh God, what am I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna get a rise out of other people. Let's do this. That's what I'm saying.
Are you saying trolling is tied in with immaturity or with are you with age? Because I think there's some really older trolls. I think it's more just anyone can suffer from trolling.
That's a good point.
That's chemical.
Okay,
I like the way it's stated. Anyone can suffer from it. Like
anyone can.
That should be the pamphlet that we're handing out for the anonymous meeting. Anybody can suffer from trolling. Are you old? Are you young? It doesn't matter.
Virtual reality. You know what?
Yes.
You can't study trolling conditions in real life, right? That's only something exclusive to the virtual world. There should be some sort of like a what is it called?
Yeah.
In real life, it's called abnormal psychology. We should have like a mental clinic for her.
We should, but I think we should start with what Shiloh suggested: a Trollers and Griefers Anonymous hub, a meeting.
Well, they could have those.
And we're handing out these pamphlets, and we say, we go up on the stage, we're saying, "Hi, I'm Draxter, and I'm a troll." "Hi, Draxter." And he's like, yeah, I was bored. I was sitting at home, and then I figured, like, if I would go into VR chat and yell at a bunch of
psychological association.
Oh, now we're talking.
I like your idea about, for instance, young trollers to put their energy into something more creative, like hackers, where we have many hackers turning into white hackers or good hackers to protect the system better.
Yes,
and we have.
Again, I mean, it depends on, because Rainbow has a point with the age and stuff like that, and I don't want to diminish it to that. All I'm saying is, if you really analyze, and it's almost with people who get sucked into terrorism, for example. I mean, there is a wonderful group in the UK that is monitoring young people and try to extract them from sort of recruiting websites and all sorts of things, because terrorism of all stripes.
What was that?
What was that?
That
was pretty
shiny sound.
Shiny sound. Oh,
did somebody just
I'm cured from my trollism. I just want to love people.
The
bells. We've evolved into the next.
We've evolved into the next.
Well, why doesn't we should have Garth? Are you here? Because you're going to have to take notes back to Ebba. We create an experience for the Taga group, Trolls and Griefers Anonymous, and when they're caught trolling, they are resigned to that group.
Yes, look at you.
And they get to go to that experience, and then they have to get their little sheet signed.
I thought they're gonna have to pick up trash at the side of the road.
No. Just if they want to come, they gotta hit a Taga meeting. We want to help.
Garth, you said, I don't know if you were talking earlier. Are you associated with Linden Labs? You were talking like
I am technical support. So
he's a spy.
Okay, that's good enough.
when you're trying to upload your custom hair for your avatar or whatever, and it doesn't work, you would send me an email, and I would.
Garth has a hair salon, but he does nails too.
Shiloh's solution there. I think that's a really good idea. Is in the future, if somebody is trolling, they have to go, because this is kind of like you're dealing with real people, so you should reach having to. That would be the only way to do it. So maybe if you don't do it, your account gets banned. I don't know.
I just know, you were talking about the internet disinhibition effect, and I looked for that, and it came up as the online disinhibition.
I'm sorry, it's online disinhibition. You're right. Online disinhibition.
Right, and there's a lot of disinhibition.
There's a lot of research.
There's a lot of research going on. Yeah, it's an interesting search result.
And that's when you talk to Philip Rosedale about this. He will tell you that he's convinced that this will be much less of a problem the more realistic we can interact with with body tracking and all that. Guys, I gotta run out. This has been the podcast recording, and I gotta jump into the next meeting. This was wonderful
wonderful meeting.
Wonderful to meet new people and old people and young people and very old people and.
I'm happy that your podcast is finished. That's what I meant, that we made it through to the end.
Oh, yeah. Well,
thank you for the fun.
Every end is a new beginning. Thank you, Disney. And
we declared that we're going to do the Shiloh's Well, is it Shiloh's trolling?
Right.
Trolling and Griefers Anonymous.
That's what we
and you know, the other tagline is also because Shyla is at the helm, she's going to be on the big posters. We're going to do this because, you know, Shyla, I'm really the master of wordplay. We're going to say, you don't want your virtual world be a silo. You want it to be a Shiloh. Shyla. Okay, it doesn't work. We're gonna workshop it a little bit more. Oh, god damn it!
Oh my gosh!
I think we should name the program after her. Shyla's program for trolling recovery.
Yeah.
By the way, if I can, somebody complimented my avatar, and I just want to give credit to Theanine for creating my avatar.
Theanine has created also Daisy's avatar and Shyla's avatar.
Daisy.
Daisy here is also a wonderful person with a lot of policy knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm calling you out.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to wrap up the podcast recording, and I'll see you guys later and soon, and actually tomorrow, Atlas Hopping. As we go to air, Atlas Hopping is already over. And also afterwards... I'll meet you at Atlas Hopping, and also we have a Discord for harvest-related stuff, and you can send me a message there. Yeah.
Is there anything going on today? Anything? No, nothing. Okay.
We cannot bring up the events list in VR, right? No.
Yeah, I did.
No, not in VR.
Oh, in VR. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm playing on my desktop.
Yeah, we don't. That's it for today. It looks
Ivory is asking. I should say draxfiles.com. Let me type this in, and then I'll wrap this. The podcast is every Monday.
Sketchfest.
Oh yeah, tomorrow is the Sketchfest. Yeah. The podcast is here. Let me just type
Second
this
Life
out.
Avatars. It's like a convention center in here. Like a very small convention.
Yeah.
I just came from a convention the other day.
Some conventions are small.
Some are, yeah. Maybe like more like a conference.
I've been at some.
And then all the events are like panels.
Like academic meetings, 3 people from all over the world discussing something.
This was really, really fantastic. I mean, this gives me a lot of hope. I think this is also, I mean, for me, the takeaway really is, you know, I have to admit, I say this all the time, that I can get very depressed when I think maybe we're all sort of in this sort of shaky world. At least for me, I look at something and then it goes like, oh my God, we're all going to hell in a handbasket, you know, we're never going to make it, humanity self-destructing, blah, blah, blah. And then I have a conversation like this with new people that we just met from all over the world. And we have a basis for discussion, and we have an interest in kindness and good stuff and moving humanity forward. And then I go like, yeah, cool, awesome, we're going to make it. But trust me, but tomorrow morning I'm gonna wake up and then somebody's gonna cut me off with my car. Gonna go, oh my God, we're gonna hell in the handbasket.
Tomorrow you're gonna meet someone who wants to end humanity.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna.
What happens after Draxter ends his shows? Do you think he puts on an alt and goes on VR chat to troll people?
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, Silas has figured out my affliction. I gotta go to Trollers Anonymous right now. Shit.
Yeah, you're the first patient.
Yeah, I'm patient 0, so to speak, literally speaking.
Yeah.
I don't know who has the doctorate to take me on. I don't know.
I think if you saw a troll that had 2 heads and one was named Franz and the other one was
oh no, Garth! Don't mention Hans and Franz. They are taking a break today. I have hand puppets, a Rainbow Boy. I mean, they're really good. Okay. Hans und Franz say guten Abend, auf Wiedersehen und ja. Also, tschüss.
Have fun in VR chat, Draxter.
Yeah. I'll see you over there, Silas. Wink, wink, wink.
Bye, all.
Let's meet at the usual place.
Of course. Don't say the coordinates, Silas. Let's go.
All right, you guys have your rendezvous.
Oh, rendezvous.
And don't forget to put on the voice changer this time.
Oh, and don't bring any trolls back over here.
No. Drax, don't forget the wine and flowers.
Ooh, I love wine.
I'm not bringing them wine and flowers over there.
He's drinking them.
Like 5-year-olds over there. They don't drink that.
All right.
Let's stop dissing them. There are some people who are 6 years old.
There are some people that are 6 years. Maybe.
But this is also, I mean, quite honestly, this is why it's so difficult. This is why I was, I'm going to stop the stream here real quick.